Welcome to another in the series of Tower Hill Live. Tower Hill is quiet after the threat of Hurricane Beryl. And while we may not have been impacted as a country, the northern sugar industry took a hit. Now, our biggest problem may be mud. We have a conversation with Stephen Usher to explore exactly what mud means at Tower Hill.
As you know, the last 2 weeks we experienced a lot of rain, and whenever we get excess rain, actually we are in the rainy season, so we tend to get a higher mud content within the cane being delivered to the factory. Now, normally we measure the mud as a percentage of the cane being delivered. Just to give you an example, normally we're around about 3% during the dry season. In the rainy season, we can get up to an average of about 4. For the last week, we have seen levels as high as 15%. Basically, what that means is that for every 10 tons of cane coming into the factory, roughly 1.5 tons is mud. That is extremely high. When we get that high mud content, it basically affects all from the mill tandem all the way through to the clarification station, because now we're processing a higher level of mud rather than just cane fiber. Once the cane is delivered to the mill, it basically, the first stage is it goes through a set of carriers that brings the cane into the mill. The knives basically prepares the fiber to pass through the mill where it's crushed. That's where the first issues start, because when we have a higher level of mud, we have more wear on the cane knives and the shredders. Once it gets into the mill basically crushes the fiber to extract the juice. Higher mud levels results in slippage in the mills, more wear on the equipment, and also it affects extraction, so we get less extraction, meaning we take out less of the juice out of the cane. When that clear juice goes to the clarification station, the clarification, as it states, basically separates the mud from the clear juice. And we have to add an agent, process aid, flocculant, that have all the suspended solids or the mud stick together, and the heavier mud falls to the bottom and the clear juice is on the top. We take off the clear juice and we send that to our evaporators. The mud, we take that to our filters and we try and extract as much juice and clear juice that's in the mud. And we use that as part of our recovery system. The more mud we get, the more we have to process, so the more, for a better word, mud we produce. We get rid of that mud, that's referred to as filter cake. So that filter cake, we transport it to a designated site. If more mud comes in, we have to take out more mud. It also increases our transportation costs. So extra mud again affects extraction. We extract less pulp, which at the end of the day is sugar, and it costs us more to transport the mud, as well as our maintenance cost of our equipment goes up, because the sand in the mud causes abrasion and we have wear on our equipment. But the main one is the recovery. If we recover less sugar, that affects our recovery. Recovery means we make less. So that sugar that we don't recover goes in the mud, or in this case, if it goes in the bagasse, it goes to the boiling house, the power plant, where it's burned as for fuel to make steam. What it does, it slows down the entire process, because I'll give you an example with the clarification station. If we have increased mud coming in, it slows down the clarification process. Slowing down that process will eventually, if it takes time to take the mud or separate the mud and the clear juice, it will slow down the milling rate. So we can see anywhere from 3,000 to 4,000 tons cane mill per day. And once the clarification station not only reduces milling time, it also reduces the boiling house efficiency, because then the boiling house now has less juice to process. So basically, it reduces or slows down the front end and the back end. We're in the rainy season, so for us again, we have to, one of the main areas we'll be focusing on again is our clarification station, where once we start milling, we're going to be prepared to handle the high volume of mud coming in the plant. So once we start up, we're going to be dealing with our flocculants, getting all our chemical aids, and we're going to start treating from the start. We're going to have both of our clarifiers in operation, so that we're not really surprised by the influx of the mud coming in, and we're going to try and get ahead of the game. Also, with this pause that we had, we can also express or experience an increase in dextran because we've had cane sitting out there for a while. So again, we'll have to increase our dextranase treatment once we start up again. So in a nutshell, our process aids will be higher than normally due to the weather events that we're experiencing right now. The hurricane or the rainy season starts in June and it ends in November. So normally your processing season would be outside of that. So you would be starting in December and ending in May or probably early June. So that's one main factor that we should be looking at. So basically we should be looking at starting earlier than normal or starting at the right time so that we end before the rainy season. Now the improvements in the factory will enable the mill to operate at a higher milling rate. If we can increase our milling rate or throughput, then we can shorten the crop season. By shortening the crop season, we can limit it to only the dry season. Then we won't have to be dealing with a high volume of mud because, telling the farmers right now, bring in clean cane, don't bring in mud or extraneous material is hard during the rainy season.
After my conversation with Stephen, one of the words that has entered my vocabulary in terms of mud and Tower Hill is flocculants, because that is a key part of the way Tower Hill manages the mud that comes in with the cane. However, there is an increased cost and also an increase in processing time. There's no denying that climate change is real, and so the industry on a whole will have to seek better ways to combat the challenges of climate change. Tower Hill is putting in place some measures and a strategy to deal with mud going into the future. While we cannot control climate change, one thing that the industry has control over is the cane grinding season. It means that we have to start as early as we can in December and end in May or June to avoid having the greater challenge of mud. This is William Neal for Tower Hill Live.